You know, I can kind of see why when this movie first came out, a lot of people thought it was it was all right. I kind of agree. What's up, guys? This is Courtney, one half of the Brothers Deconstruction here, and I'm bringing you my super late review for Kong Skull Island. By the way, I guess there's going to be light spoilers. Yeah, this movie came out a few years ago. I meant to see it in theaters. Bruce actually told me to check it out. I just never got around to it, and then I saw that reviews were saying that it was okay. It was, you know, kind of middle of the road. It wasn't great. It wasn't as good as you were expecting it to be, but it also wasn't completely terrible. And I completely understand why. But this movie starts out with a young, I don't know. I can't remember the name of John C. Reilly's character, but it starts out with his character and another guy. They're in the war. This is like 1944 and 1945. They land on this island and they are fighting. They end up attacking each other, and then Kong shows up and then they run off. This movie is a start of I believe Universal is trying to do their monster movies again. Is this a Universal movie? Whoever's trying to create this monsters universe. This is technically the second movie because the first Godzilla was the first one, but it doesn't really, I haven't seen that movie since 2014. I'm not entirely sure how much world building they do in that film, but this film is basically the first movie in this monsters universe that actually hints towards the monsters universe. But the good thing about it is that they're not really overhand with it. Monarch is in the film just like it was in Godzilla. I kind of wish I had seen this first before I saw Godzilla, but I saw Godzilla King of the Monsters first, and then I came back and watched this. And a lot of that imagery of Godzilla fighting Ghidorah that popped up in this film toward the end of the movie was in Godzilla King of the Monsters, obviously. So I wish I would have seen this one first, because then it would have connected the dots to me. But I mean, it still kind of worked out. So there's that. You know, some things that I liked about the movie. The action was pretty decent. When King Kong got into fights, you know, he was fucking things up, and they were actually really, really cool looking fights. You know, you see this giant lizard or Kong fighting a giant squid and things like that. It was actually really cool to see. That's really all I can say about the film. The story was decent, but it wasn't anything like incredible. I think it focused a little too much on the humans, but it didn't do enough to explain Monarch. Because Monarch is the organization, is the shield of this monsters universe. They're the organization that's looking for these creatures. They know that they exist, so they're looking for them, and they're basically investigating these creatures. So if you're gonna focus on the humans, focus on the organization. Like, I'm forgetting his name, he played Dr. Dre in Straight Outta Compton. He's with Monarch, and John Goodman's character is with Monarch as well. We get them. We learn that Monarch is going bankrupt. They're losing money. They're about to get shut down. So this trip to Skull Island is kind of a last-ditch effort in proving that monsters exist so they can get funding and they can continue their research. We get that type of intro, but you know, then they look for a tracker. That's where Tom Hiddleston comes in, and Brie Larson's photographer tags along. I forget why. And Brie Larson is way better in this than she is in Captain Marvel, which is hilarious. Brie Larson is a competent actress. I didn't mean to bring up Captain Marvel here, but the two performances are night and day. That's how big of a difference it is. She actually has a personality in this film, but not to get sidetracked. It's kind of a mismatch of characters for the most part. Samuel L. Jackson plays the leader of this little military unit that goes on this trip with them. but he becomes his character. His character is annoying because he's so hell bent on killing Godzilla or on killing King Kong. Jesus Christ, I'm getting the movies mixed up. He's so hell bent on killing King Kong because he thinks that Kong killed one of his soldiers who we share the last name with. But even after realizing that he doesn't, he kind of goes into full zealot mode and saying nobody, like, we're soldiers, we're like, he kind of goes a little crazy, a little nuts. He's like, as soldiers, we protect our country so the people there can feel safe. Nobody there should have to know that these type of monsters exist. And it's kind of a weird motivation, and it gets annoying because it's like, you came into his house blowing his shit up. Yes, he attacks your men. He destroyed your helicopters that you flew in with. Y'all came into his house dropping bombs everywhere, disturbing everything. If I was him, I would attack the helicopters too, because he's shown to be non-aggressive toward the humans if they're not aggressive to him. He sees Brie Larson's character at some point in the film when she's trying to help rescue this other, like, giant bison that's trapped under a plane. She's trying to push the plane up off him. You think that as a human, you know that you just can't help the creature, but she does try to move it however much that she can so it can get from underneath it. Godzilla comes by, picks it up, it gets up, walks off, looks at her, and she's just like, oh shit. But it doesn't attack her. So it could be like that Godzilla and the lady kind of thing, or the King, Jesus Christ, the King Kong with the woman in his hand swatting away the helicopters on top of the Empire State Building, that type of thing. So that was the vibe that I was getting. You know, he's been shown to be non-aggressive, and they even, you know, help him at one point when little lizards, the skull crawlers, is what John C. Reilly character comes up with. When the big one starts attacking him, they start helping him. Or they do their best, but you know, it's an okay film. Like, there's, like, Samuel Jackson's character is annoying because of his motivations, and they don't really have a whole lot to do, but they kind of put a little too much focus on the humans. But my thing is, you know, you have two members from the Monarch organization on the trip. We could have, why not make Tom Hiddleston, you know, a member of Monarch instead of a soldier who's left. I can't remember if he was discharged or not. There's so much that's forgettable about the film, so I understand why people at the time were saying that it's okay. It's just a lot of forgettableness, but you know, the action when it does happen is pretty good. So that's really the only takeaway that I got from the film. But I'm interested, like I said in my Godzilla King of the Monsters review, I'm interested to see where they're gonna take this Kong versus Godzilla film, because John C. Reilly, well, I thought that Kong was way smaller than Godzilla, at least, you know, before I saw this movie. I think he might be a little bit closer in size to him now, but even then, John C. Reilly's character says that Godzilla is young in this film because the big skull crawler killed his family, so he's the only one of his kind left, but he's still growing. That's what John C. Reilly's character says in the film, that he's still growing. So I imagine 50 years later, because this John C. Reilly's character was stuck on that island, was stuck on Skull Island since World War II, I think 44 or 45. This movie takes place in 1973, I believe, and King of the Monsters took place in 2019. So I'm guessing that Kong versus Godzilla is going to take place, I don't even know when that movie is scheduled to come out. I'm guessing next year, maybe 2021. I haven't really heard anything about it, so I'm guessing 2021. So if it takes place in real time, that's going to be 48 years, almost 50 years after the events of this movie. So I can imagine a Godzilla that's 50 years older, if he's still growing. I imagine that Godzilla is going to be or a Kong that's still growing. I imagine he's going to be the same size as Godzilla by the time that movie rolls around. So I'm interested to see what they're going to do with this kind of monsters universe, because Kong Skull Island, I don't think did all that great at the box office. Godzilla didn't open great at the box office. So are they gonna move forward with Kong versus Godzilla? Or what's happening now? So, but again, going back to this film, I thought it was okay. It focuses a little more on some of the individual soldiers versus, you know, the actual humans from Monarch and what their goals are. Like, yeah, in this film, John Goodman wants to prove monsters exist because Monarch is about to get shut down. But if you're gonna put so much focus on the humans, explain more about what Monarch is as a whole organization. But I guess Godzilla King of the Monsters kind of do that. They're just into investigating these creatures that used to rule the earth before humans got here. Yeah, those are my thoughts on Kong Skull Island. It's an okay movie. If you can red box it, I would say check it out. If it's, I don't know if it's free on Hulu or Amazon Video or anything like that. I'm kind of tempted to buy it on Blu-ray only to see what the special features are. But instead of just buying Blu-rays of movies that I think are okay, if I'm gonna buy it for the special features, I should probably look to see what special features they have on the film. So yeah, if you can rent it, go ahead. I wouldn't say purchase it on Blu-ray. Thanks for everybody that watches the videos, whether it's 1, 5, 7, or 100 people. Thanks for the support. Check out the other videos, and I'll be getting up with you guys.